Tonight on Q2, tragedy in the skies. We're uncovering new details surrounding a deadly Wyoming plane crash as the family grieves the loss of their little girl. We're learning more about the pilot's history with aviation close calls. Plus, unsealed and in court. Now, never before seen court documents are giving us a better understanding of the series of events that led up to an Anaconda mass shooting. And the power of reading.
When parents are reading at home with their students, it makes a world of difference.
Literacy rates on the way up at one Billings school, but there's still room for improvement. The MTN 4:30 News starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. I'm Andrea Lutz. We are learning more tonight about the family at the center of a deadly plane crash near Sheridan. 13-year-old Amelia Palmer was killed Monday night, just 8 minutes after takeoff. Her parents, Cindy and Earl Palmer, survived but are in critical condition at hospitals in Billings. And their 11-year-old son, Aaron, suffered minor injuries. And according to the family, was the one who called for help after the crash, even with the plane's radio antenna broken. Well, the Palmers live in Boise, Idaho. Amelia was heavily involved in rodeo pageants, placing in a recent Miss Junior Rodeo Idaho pageant. That nonprofit said on Facebook, quote, "Amelia, you are pure sunshine and brought joy to everyone you met." A GoFundMe is set up to help the family with medical expenses. You can find all of our coverage on this developing story right now at ktvq.com. New tonight, we're learning more about the plane crash and the father's history with several other close calls involving aircraft. MTN's Kagan Harsha has been digging into that part of the story all day. So Kagan, what did you learn?
Well, Andrea, this is a picture of the plane that crashed. It's a 1965 single-engine four-seater Piper aircraft. The plane was not owned by the Palmer family, but rather by a Sheridan man named Travis Peden. We were able to learn that through FAA records. Peden, according to his LinkedIn page, used to work for Bighorn Airways Incorporated, which offers private and contracted flights out of Sheridan. And according to 2024 federal court documents filed in Idaho, Earl Palmer, Amelia's father, also worked for Bighorn Airways as a pilot. Those documents detail several close calls for Palmer, including a 2012 crash that had, quote, the potential for loss of life. While details surrounding that helicopter crash are limited, these documents state Palmer was flying the chopper for the Department of the Interior out of Boise. Then fast forward to 2016. Those same documents reference a, quote, 2016 aircraft mishap, this time in a fixed-wing plane, which led the Department of the Interior to revoke Palmer's DOI pilot authorization. Palmer then resigned from the department but applied for his pilot's authorization to be reinstated. When he was denied, well, he then sued the Department of the Interior, and that case is still ongoing. Now, it's still unknown why that plane crashed Monday. The Federal Aviation Administration has released a preliminary report, but it contains very few details, only saying the aircraft crashed under, quote, unknown circumstances. So, Andrea, certainly a lot we're still waiting to learn here.
All right, Kagan, thanks for breaking it all down for us. We're going to have much more on this crash, learning just how extensive and expensive these search and rescue operations can be. We're going to have that story coming up in a half hour on the MTN 5:30 News. Oh, the man accused in an Anaconda mass shooting, Michael Brown, pled not guilty this morning to killing 4 people inside the Owl Bar on August 1st. Brown remains in custody tonight at the Butte Detention Center. His $2 million bail has been revoked with the court citing community danger and mental health concerns. He also entered not guilty pleas to attempted arson and fleeing police. The Owl Bar's owner told MTN News Brown tried to set off an improvised explosive device inside, but it failed. His trial is scheduled for January 12th, 2026. Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks is investigating a disturbing case. A fawn shot and left to die. Well, a mule deer fawn was discovered yesterday at the Billings Rod and Gun Club archery range with an arrow still lodged in its body. Wardens believe it had been wounded for about a week before being found there. Anyone with information is urged to call FWP with a reward of up to $1,000 offered.
I'm sure you've noticed the smoke and haze around depending on where you are, but This is how things look right now. Most of the state is in the yellow category, which means that there's some minor irritation out there right now. This morning we did have some areas that were in the unhealthy category, but want to show you a little bit. I'm going to show us Missoula, but I'll show you the temperatures anyway. 94 degrees in Missoula right now, showing sunshine, but there is some of that haze around, just a little bit of a northwest wind going along with that. So we'll go over to the other part of the state where we can take a look right now in Miles City, and you can see a little of that haze around, but check out the contrast in temperatures, sitting at 72 degrees right now. That will continue tomorrow. We'll show you in a minute.
President Donald Trump has expanded his list of cities he claims are crime-ridden and in need of federal help. It comes as lawmakers are looking to extend the presence of National Guard troops in the nation's capital. Taureen Small has more details from the White House.
President Trump says he's preparing to launch National Guard troops to help combat crime in yet another Democratic-led city.
We're going to be going to maybe Louisiana, and you have New Orleans, which has a crime problem. We'll straighten that out in about 2 weeks. It'll take us 2 weeks, easier than D.C.
The president is already deployed to D.C. and has threatened other cities, including Baltimore and Chicago.
We could straighten out Chicago. All they have to do is ask us.
If this president wants to help us reduce crime, we'll work with him. But this notion that he is going to invade Chicago, put military checkpoints in that city, for God's sake, that's just an outrage.
Illinois Senator Dick Durbin says the president is playing politics.
He's ignoring states with Republican leadership where crime is even worse. Texas, Tennessee, Arkansas. I mean, I go through the long list of them.
Congress is now working on legislation that would extend the president's order federalizing the D.C. police force through the end of the year.
Ultimately, the responsibility should be at the mayor and city council level. But if they're not going to do the job, particularly in the nation's capital, we will.
D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser said the takeover does not need to go beyond the original 30-day timeline.
We have a framework to request or use federal resources in our city. We don't need a presidential emergency.
Bowser announced a 13% pay hike for Metropolitan Police in order to recruit more officers. Torian Small, CBS News, the White House.
The House Oversight Committee released files today from the Department of Justice on convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and his former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell. But many of the files contained information already publicly known. Alex Miller has more on what was new and what survivors are saying as they continue to speak out.
Survivors of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein speaking out.
Disbelieving survivors creates a culture of silence. There is strength in numbers, and our courage is contagious.
Some telling their stories for the first time publicly.
When I got into the massage room, Jeffrey Epstein undressed and asked me to do things to him. My eyes welled up with tears, and I have never been more scared in my life.
A group of women who say they were sexually assaulted by Epstein appeared on Capitol Hill Wednesday alongside lawmakers. One survivor making this direct appeal to President Trump.
I cordially invite you to the Capitol to meet me in person so you can understand this is not a hoax.
But moments later, the president saying this from the Oval Office.
This is a Democrat hoax.
The survivors, who were joined by some lawmakers, said they want more transparency.
Transparency is justice. Release the files. End the secrecy.
Release what needs to be released.
Release all the records related to Epstein and Maxwell investigations.
On Tuesday, a House committee released thousands of documents related to the Epstein investigation, but much of the information from those documents was already publicly known. Meanwhile, Republican Congressman Thomas Massie and Democrat Ro Khanna continue to push forward a measure that would require the Justice Department to publicly release all documents related to the Epstein investigation. Alex Miller, Scripps News Group, New York.
Disney will pay a $10 million fine to the Federal Trade Commission for mislabeling YouTube videos. The FTC says Disney failed to mark some videos as made for kids, allowing personal data from children under 13 to be collected and used for targeted ads. The agency says Disney ignored warnings back in 2020 exposing kids to ads and adult features like autoplay. As part of the settlement, Disney will launch a new review program to ensure videos are properly labeled. Childhood literacy is a big challenge nationwide, and so is it here in Montana. At Ponderosa School, scores are improving, but some students still start with ever having held a book in their hands. A Give a Child a Book campaign is changing that, putting free books in kids' hands. Our Vanessa Willardson has more.
Daisy was yellow instead of pink, and Swerve pounds lighter than the average pig. But she made Bentley very happy with her friendship.
I think the first time I caught him reading was about 3.5, 4 years old.
Reading is an essential part of education, something Crystal Willardson knows well. She's a mom to third grader Eli Peterson.
What can I do at home? What can I do here? And a lot of times the answer is read. Just read with him, whether it's you reading to him, having him practice at home, but constantly be reading at home.
However, Ponderosa Elementary School Principal Allison Everts says not all students have access to books at home.
Some students come with varying degrees of readiness for school. Some are reading, some don't even recognize letters in the alphabet, and then there are others who have not seen a book.
To help boost student literacy, the school has been receiving donations from the Scripps Howard Fund's If You Give a Child a Book campaign.
And it just helps our literacy rates and what we're trying to achieve here. So it's been pretty spectacular all in all.
Because of the campaign, each student got to take home 10 books last school year for free.
There's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of excitement. Parents are always very impressed that the kids get to bring these books home.
The National Literacy Institute said 21% of adults in the United States are illiterate, a statistic the school is fighting while the kids are still young. In fact, with this program, Everett says the school's literacy rates increased by 3% in just the past year.
When we give them opportunities to have books that they get to select themselves, they get to have in their home, they get to read at their leisure, it's all good things.
The Scripps campaign donated 2,700 books to the school last year, and it's raising money for this year's books right now. If you would like to donate, you can find more details on ktvq.com.
When parents are reading at home with their students, it makes a world of difference.
In Billings, Vanessa Willardson, MTN News.
And there's still time to donate. You can visit ktvq.com/giveabook to help put books into the hands of children.